do you have like a process to kind of get to this peaceful, focused, high energy, but not manic existence?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. I think it's just a lot of, I invest a lot of time in like self-reflection, and I invest a lot of time in like looking at myself and trying to make myself better from like an inside perspective. I read the books, I do the breath work, I learn the lessons, I do the stuff that, you know, that people say tends to lead you towards like an enlightened path. And that's just for me and my own centeredness, my own oneness. And I love it, you know, but also I will make fun of it just as much.
Well, but see, now that's the thing. Are we rolling?
Yep.
We are?
Yep.
How's it going so far?
Some U of A talk.
Yeah.
U of A talk.
Solid U
Bear
of A
down.
talk.
All right.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. I'm having a great day on many levels. First of all, welcome, Bonfire Talks with your boy Mark. I got a great guest. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But let's just start off by saying I'm having a great day. Why? Because I fucking say so. Get at me. Right?
I love that.
Get at me.
I love that.
Because if I leave it up to my own thinking, this day could be bad just because ghosts will show up. But because I say so, it's a great fucking day, and it actually is, man. You know why? The checklist got shorter for me. The checklist is, am I breathing? Is my heart beating? Did I eat? Am I hungry? Nah, dude, I'm good. Do I have a house? Roof over my head? You know, all the things. That constitutes today as a great day, so hope you're having a great day. I didn't expect to go down that road, but let's just focus it up. Psyched about today. I reached out to somebody that I have mad respect for, who I've been watching from the shadows for years now, and asked him to be on the podcast, knowing that he would say, "Yeah, dude, I love you, but nah." And he said, "No, I'm there." And so I'm thrilled to have a fellow middle initial dude, right?
Yeah.
My friend Christian Pierce, or as you may know him professionally, Christian A. Pierce, is here with Mark L. Wahlberg, because that's how we get down.
It is nice to meet a fellow middle initial person.
That's right. I had to. I didn't really have to, but I did it because I wanted to make less confusion. Didn't fucking work.
Right.
And now I'm stuck with Mark L.
That's tough. Yeah, I had to do it because same thing, but mine started in middle school, actually.
Really?
And when I was in 6th grade, you know how they have those, like the back to school night?
Sure.
Where the parents come after the first few weeks and they show them around and talk to the teacher, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So 6th grade, met middle school, Hale Middle School in the Valley. And my parents got to back to school night. I'm a straight A student. I'm not worried about a damn thing, right?
That's the difference between, when you said back to school night, I just got to chill.
Yeah.
Because that's usually where the parents go, he has so much potential. I mean, the teachers go,
Right.
he's not applying himself.
That started happening later on. So 6th grade, I'm like still gassed up about school. My parents go off. They come home. My dad comes in my bedroom door and slams the door closed. I'm like, oh, what happened? He's like, your teacher said that you've been messing around doing this in class. And I was like, and now I was very much a class clown, but because this was a new school, it just started, I was my best behavior for the first few weeks.
Sure.
The class clown shit hadn't started yet.
Right.
So I'm like, wait, what? Like then we ran into a dean, and the dean said that like, you've been in detention every day. I'm like, what? I haven't been to detention once. My parents are freaking out. I'm like, Dad, I promise this isn't true. They're like, well, then you better go to school tomorrow and get like a note that said they're making a mistake. So I go to the dean's office. I don't even know the dean yet. School just started. I'm like, hey, are you Mrs. Such and Such? My parents came here and said, you told them that I was in detention. They're like, what's your name? I'm like, I'm Christian Pierce. They go, oh, fuck. Like, there's another Christian Pierce. He's a year ahead of you. He's a fucking menace. He's like a terrible guy, terrible grades. So they'd mixed us up. And after
That's
that,
when you became
my
Christian.
parents were like, you're Christian A. Pierce.
You should be like Christian A 4.0 GPA Pierce.
Damn, I didn't think of like some parentheses right there in the middle.
Like A, because that's what I do.
Yeah. It's A's, yeah.
Here's what you do.
Yeah.
You create content nonstop, and you do it so authentically. I don't even know where to start. I mean, we're going to talk about Real Bros, but I want to talk more about you because I'm really quite impressed. I've been a student of you and Jimmy Tatro, who you've often been a partner with, although your partners are many. But for background, let's just start with what to me was the biggest point, is that Christian and our mutual friend, who's actually it's actually my son's mutual friend, but I've appropriated all of his friends by trying to be that dad, which I now realize is kind of fucking lame. But whatever. Jimmy Tatro, I consider my friend. And Christian and Jimmy have been doing content together for years. Like Vine?
Like 2011.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, so way back. But one of the things that they were able to create was this series that started out like 8-minute episodes that ended up being Facebook watched legit series and ran 3 seasons, and it is now a feature film on Roku that you need to check out, Real Bros of Simi Valley.
Check it out.
Check it out because I binge watched 3 seasons. I'm not even the demo. I'm old as fuck, right? But it works for me on every level. And I'm going to tell you what works for me.
All right.
But to me, first of all, what I'm so impressed with is guys my age who are veterans of show business, what used to be, often look at, not me, but others my age, look at those people who were creating content in the social media world and YouTube and all that stuff as it's not real. And it's not like we used to do. We used to throw down. But the truth is, Real Bros specifically is so fucking real as far as it relates to the craft of making even old school TV. In this sense, a lot of social media for guys my age and view it is like 7 seconds, 30 second. It's a bit. And it's a funny bit and it's cool and we're down. But there's no arc, right? There's no structure. And there are scientific structures to sitcom, movies, all this stuff. What I love about what you guys did with Real Bros is you spoofed the Real Housewives kind of vibe, the reality docudrama show.
Yeah.
But there's an A story, there's a B story, there's a C story. They wrap up, there's callbacks, there's all the highly developed art of creating the sitcom or episodic comedy and feature film stuff that you guys did, and I can't imagine that was by mistake. No. I gotta think you guys became students of the craft, and that's the flowers I want to give you and Jimmy.
Thank you,
is
man.
that to the viewers, like, this shit's dope, this is funny, whatever. But to me, I'm looking at the craft of what you created, and it's high level. To me, what you guys did with Real Bros is on the level of what Christopher Guest does. You know Christopher Guest?
Of course.
Best in Show, Mighty Win, Waiting for Guffman, Spinal Tap, and of course...
Mascots? That one was like
which one?
Mascots, you see that one?
I didn't see Mascots.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, wait a minute, I did.
Yeah.
The point is, it's the mockumentary. It's taking a premise that's a funny bit, but making it live with its own life where you forget you're doing a bit. So tell me a little bit about the process, how you came up with this, and how you and Jimmy work, because that's the part I'd like to see. I'd like to watch that.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny you say like students of the game, because I think that has a lot to do with this show's conception. Kind of, it came from a place of necessity first. We were in this routine of producing YouTube videos every week, and we'd put them out every Monday on the channel, and that was a grind because unlike a lot of other YouTubers, we make original scripted content. Like, we were very much the minority.
Yeah, you're not taking a viral sound and kind of
exactly
riffing on that.
Or just like talking. Everything is scripted. We put a lot of time and effort to it. We put time into the production. We put time into the editing. And you do that, 10, 15, 20 weeks in a row, you get kind of exhausted. Also, you don't have like room to live because you can't leave the process. You have to keep uploading stuff. So we're like, how can we get ahead of this? Well, if we could shoot a bunch of things at once, and then kind of release it as a batch,
weekly, right?
Right, and then we'd have more room to create in that time with less pressure on like getting something out right now. And well, that's a series. Okay, so how do we make a series? Like, what's our version of something? And we were living together at the time, and reality TV was obviously already a thing, but it was becoming much more of a thing. Like networks were filling their slate with reality shows,
right?
Like, and that was a time when like there was a lot of like kind of still new networks popping up on cable still.
Sure.
And everyone had crazy reality shows. We've been traveling together and seeing other cities and countries' reality shows, and we used to laugh and make fun of it. And kind of like being students of the game, we didn't grow up with that. We grew up with regular sitcoms, regular TV, which we were both huge fans of. And it felt like what we were fans of didn't fit in today's world, kind of. So we'd find ways to kind of rip on it and like poke fun at it. And when we're coming up with the series, you know, what's our series? You know, what do we do good? We do bro humor. And what doesn't fit in a reality show like format is just a bunch of bros who have like nothing going on in TV reality. But also it kind of does work because nothing really happens in reality.
It's kind of what reality evolved into.
Exactly.
Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, so you guys are just housewives living in Beverly Hills and we're supposed to be down with that?
Exactly.
And then drama gets created and we know like it's professional wrestling. And it's like, is this for real or isn't for real?
Right. So we were just like, oh, wait, let's try this. So we started like, from the minute we came up with that idea, we started writing like on the spot, or who would the characters be? And we started fleshing out right there at Dialogue Cafe in West Hollywood. And it just flowed so easily. Like when an idea starts flowing and it's like, it's just coming off the tip of your tongue, you gotta pursue it.
Which, by the way, is my favorite vibe in the world.
Yeah.
When you're with somebody that you vibe with, your dude.
Yeah, and it's just flowing.
And all of a sudden, 5 hours go by and you don't know where they went.
Yep.
That's the drug for me.
Same.
And it's hard to find.
Yep. So that was it, man.
But it's one thing to create, wouldn't this be funny, blah, 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 blah. What I kind of tripped on more on the Facebook Watch series than the movie, because by then I'm like, I get it.
Right.
Is the structure and what you're doing was very conventional.
Yeah.
It's what I don't think people give credit for is that this was sitting and writing. For real.
It was just us writing hours and hours every day. And that we grew up on that style of TV. We're both such huge fans of like TV, and we both have our list of sitcoms that we're fans of. And that's why we started collaborating in the first place, because we're fans of the craft. You know?
met at University of Arizona?
Met at U of A. We were pledging the same fraternity.
Right.
We're the only two guys in the room when the conversation of what do you want to do with your future came up who said TV and film.
Right.
So naturally we gravitated towards each other, started making sketches together, and something was there.
I used to love watching the and forgive me for not doing the research to get the names of these bits, but you guys on the back porch just sitting around the table.
Yeah, Balcony Conversations.
Balcony Conversations.
Yeah, man, it's a good series.
Which is another example of something that seems so simple, but it's not particularly simple.
No.
And to crank it out. And that's the other props I give you. Now that I kind of have followed you, I get this about you. Like, you're a doer, like fitness-wise, forget it. It's ridiculous. Food-wise, like all the stuff. Like, you don't sit still, and you're positive and you're driven. But what I'm always have said to others about Jimmy, because I saw him in high school.
Right.
Everybody would come to my house and pregame before the football game, and Jimmy was one of those guys, right? And because I lived close to the high school. And then often they'd come back to my house because often they couldn't go back to their own house.
Right.
So I was the enabler. But when everybody would be crashed out, Kyle and Morgan, my son, and everybody would be crashed out, Jimmy would be walking around with a laptop recording stuff. Like, he was always making content.
Yeah.
Always. And what I've then said when people would say stuff, oh, he got so lucky, he did that, frat life video and that took off and then he went viral. I'm like, yeah, I've seen 20 guys go viral with one bit. Right. But what you talk about is, how do you get up and grind every week?
Yeah.
And that's legit.
Yeah, it's a consistency, and you got to be able to willing to do that, even when, because let's say the first video goes viral, that feels great. Let's say the second one does really well, but the third one doesn't do as well.
Right.
Some people are like, okay, it's kind of dead, right? Or the fourth one doesn't do well again. The fifth one doesn't do well again. To be able to like keep going until the next one pops, and then go through a dead or like average phase, and the next one pops, and then you have some kind of steam rolling now. That takes fire and drive, which Jimmy definitely has, and it was awesome.
Well, and you have.
We both have it, and it was really cool to find somebody
But Jimmy
else who
definitely
had it.
has.
Yeah.
Jimmy is sort of counterintuitive to the vibe of Jimmy. And what's funny to me is that the content Jimmy has made over the years, one of them I was in, a couple of them I was in, actually, but when he was doing Frat Life.
Yep.
I did the intervention, which is a funny little bit. But he's spoofing what his actual high school persona kind of was.
Right.
Like if I looked at the five guys that they were hanging out together, I'm like, well, he's going to be a pro baseball player, and that guy's going to be president, and I don't know if Jimmy's going to stay out of jail. He's not a bad kid, but there's this wildness.
He's got that edge, yeah.
But what he actually has is focus.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's driven.
Yeah.
And and you guys are obviously like-minded in that.
Yeah, and he also has something that I have where it's like we're not afraid to laugh at ourselves or a situation that we find ourselves in. We can find the funny in it. That's who I was. It's so funny. The closer Jimmy and I got through the process of working together and just our friendship becoming stronger and deeper was like we were very alike when we were younger, even though we didn't know each other. Like we were both running around with the camera any chance we had.
Right.
He was making neighborhood videos on his parents' camera, so was I.
Yeah.
And like cutting them together by pressing record and pause.
Right.
We were both making
Before there was any
Jackass
software for
videos.
that. Right.
Yeah, I was also the kid in high school. My friends were past out doing something weird. I had my first camera phone. I was recording it, making edits. Like I uploaded YouTube videos. So like we had a lot of similarities. And then being able to make fun of ourselves is something else like we are good at that I respect and love that he has too. Like any of ourselves or situation, it's great. So
Yeah, it's awesome that with success, friendship could survive.
Yeah.
Where it could get a little shitty. Here's what I'm a little jealous of.
what was that?
Although not really, because it's available to me. But when I came up,
Yeah.
back in the dark ages of show business,
Right. That was a long time ago, right?
yeah, it was right after the Great War.
Right.
Actually, the country was in shambles.
Yeah.
Our boys were coming back from World War I, and although there was a victory abroad, there was a lot to be had.
Right, I read
here.
about that.
Yeah, it was etched in a tablet.
Right.
Probably
Yeah,
how far back it was. No, but when I was literally, because my road was, I never thought I was going to be an on-camera dude. I was like, I dropped out of college, and I was like, I got to learn a craft. I got to learn a skill, so I got a job in a production company, right? And I was just going to learn that, right? And then I ended up, by some turn of events, on camera. But when you're talent or trying to be that back in the day, it had cost you $1,000 to put together a demo reel. You had to find somebody with a fucking camera
Right.
and go somewhere to edit it. Then you print them out on tapes or CDs later. Right. But what I was going to say that I'm jealous of is that the world now is you are a studio, right? At any given moment, you're a studio. You can do all of that stuff. But then there's this side of it. The tail wags the dog on this one a little bit. When you're creating content, the way you guys have created content and the way things are now, you answer to no one except yourself. So direction, notes, how long the episode, all that stuff, you don't have a network giving you that stuff. Now, you can talk about when that starts because it happens. But that means you have to show up and do the episode. You have to say, this feels good to me, and it's good. So that freedom to kind of do that without having, you're not the victim of time slot or promo or some network executive who doesn't fucking get it, which has been the bane of my existence. I've had shows that were canceled that were the highest rated show on the network, but politics or other shit.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I could have some jealousy about, as you're coming up, you had the wherewithal technologically and sort of the structure that you could kind of do your thing.
Right.
And for me coming up back then, it wasn't as easy. But that's a little bit of an excuse. Now what I find interesting is I'm watching guys like you who started either on Vine or, started doing, Instagram or YouTube or whatever. And now, because the audience has grown, your audience is so big that you now find yourselves thrust back into what is left of a conventional show business structure.
Right.
And now you got some network executive who looks like me giving you notes about shit they don't understand. And you got to now weather that storm. Talk about that as it relates to like the movie when it gets to be a feature film.
It's different, man. Because like you said, we were so used to answering to ourselves, and I would say the only people we maybe didn't answer to but listened to were our subscribers, our audience. Like we, if we got feedback on if something wasn't getting as many views or if the comments weren't as as great, we would be okay. Maybe this isn't. Maybe we should
tweak
pivot
it this way or that way.
Yeah, we try to adjust to make everyone happy. Maybe we're not executing the joke well enough, but. Right, shifting into like we started working with Facebook, or even before that, because we started developing series before Real Bros. We sold some stuff, but nothing ever went to series, and that was already hard. Like writing a pilot and getting notes back and being like, I think, what are they talking about? I think they're not getting the joke here, and learning that like going back and saying you're not getting the joke here isn't always the best idea. Learning that
except, fuck yes, it is.
Yeah,
because that's That's why the industry is a dinosaur and dying, is that process.
Yeah.
So what you described is the actual development process. You put stuff out there that you think is funny.
Yeah.
If you get 3 comments that are the same, you realize there might be some truth to this.
Right.
It's not just troll.
Right.
And you adjust. And the beauty, I think, is that you have a dialogue with your audience where you don't in what was conventional TV.
Yeah.
And then you have an executive who hasn't watched any of this shit
Right.
telling you that's not funny.
Yeah, it's 50-50 because it's like there are a lot of things that we're like, oh, they just don't get this. And it's frustrating that they're trying to make us change something that we know the audience will love. We know this is going to hit, and they're just not seeing it, and they're not moving on it. However, what I've learned is that maybe we're not doing a good enough job of explaining to them why this will hit.
Wow, that's called ownership.
You know?
In any break, I'm going to bring it into relationship. What that's called is in any upset or breakdown of communication, you can't change the other person. What you can do is accept and own your part in it.
Right.
That's fucking beautiful.
Thanks, man. It's,
Continue.
I think collaboration's an art, and like it takes a lot of practice, and like it's a skill. And something I've learned is it's like, if someone's not seeing my vision for something, maybe I'm not doing a good enough job of explaining it to them or helping them see it. Because it's hard, because I don't get people's vision all the time. Like, why the fuck would they get mine? So there's definitely been moments where, me and Jimmy will regroup, and I'll tell them like, yeah, I think we just need to do a better job of like helping them see this, or we just sometimes be like, okay, that's a good idea, and on the day on set, me and you do what the fuck we're gonna do.
I've done that my whole career.
And they'll be like, that was genius after it's over. We've been there too, and that happens, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Rub it in their face, or are you just gonna enjoy the win?
When I was producing a series with my boy Mark DiCarlo, who is to me what Jimmy was for you, he is for you, or all of your collaborators, because you've got a lot of them. We would cut shows and leave stuff in the cut that they would have notes on, so that the stuff we didn't want them to have notes on, they'd forget about. Like
Exactly. There's also that. We've learned that a lot too. We went in and pitched season 3 of Real Bros after season 2 was such a success at Facebook, and we went in this big boardroom, and all the execs like, all right, give it to us, give us the run. Going through the pitch, and like, this is great. And we had this big twist ending we wanted to do, but we knew that like they weren't maybe going to go for it. So we gave them this other ending that we were thinking about doing, but we knew was fucking crazier. And they were like, we don't know about that. Maybe we do the first ending. We're like, okay, but we were totally fine with that going in the meeting. So sometimes it's just collaborating. You give them something.
Puppeteered it a little bit.
Yeah. So you learn how to deal with shit. You learn how to take criticisms, and sometimes there are bad notes. Sometimes I think some people at companies feel like they just need some shit to say, and they'll read a script, they'll watch a cut, and they'll just give a bunch of notes that are so not there,
Yeah, but what I got from what you're saying, and what I get from your vibe in general, is when you are centered and clear about who you are, it gives you the freedom to take a note, even a bad note, and don't do this is not fair to Quentin Tarantino, but what I see him, what I envision him being is like, fuck you, I know what I'm doing, I'm a genius. It gives you the freedom to let your ego sit over here for a second, say thanks for the note, then decide on your own if there's value in it, and either push back or redirect your communication so that the relationship stays intact.
Yeah.
That's brilliance and necessary for survival, not just in our business, which is full of ego, but every business.
Yeah.
Like, what would it be like if when your boss is just being a full-on dick, you say, rather than that guy's a full-on dick, you say, like you just said, Christian, maybe I'm not communicating this in a way that it can be heard.
Yeah.
That's called ownership and responsibility. It's just really good.
Or maybe sometimes it's like, I ask people like collaborators or like people with networks, like, okay, you don't like this. What are you afraid of happening here? Like, what's worst case scenario you think if this joke stays in here? Well, I'm afraid that this is going to alienate some people. Okay, which people? This group of people. And what happens if that happens? Then they might give the show a bad review. Okay, cool. If I can like see what you're afraid of with this happening, I can help you ease you off the ledge.
Or there may be another route to...
Yeah.
Two things can be true. These concerns can be real, and the route to getting there could be different than the one we picked.
100%.
Yeah, that's high level stuff, and that's the thing. That's what kind of one of the things I think I have really admired because I'm a little heady, is that I don't think people realize all the elements that content creators have to go through to create content and manage brand, manage the money aspect, because when the money comes into play, people think, if I'm paying for this, I have a say in this.
Right.
And to manage that in a way where you don't burn bridges, you don't become a diva, you grow the business, and you don't compromise your artistic choices.
Yeah.
That's really how you're successful.
Yeah.
Assuming you have the raw talent of creativity, which you guys have. That's not something you can purchase. Then you have the work ethic of being a student of the game, which most people with raw talent don't bother to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is the life skills of being complete. I talk about in the sense of connection. There's the 3 levels of connection. One is connection to your authentic self. That allows you now to make authentic connections with other people. Ooh. And then at that point, you can tap into what's already there, which is the vibe of life is already connected. And then when you start getting that thing rolling, miracles start happening.
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
I've never heard that before. That's cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But what it sounds like to me is that you slow your roll. You listen to what even you don't want to hear, and then find a different way to make that communication so that the person feels hurt.
Yeah.
Even if what they're saying in the moment doesn't feel like that note is going to help.
Yeah.
And that really is from the viewer standpoint, is the part of content creation that we take for granted. We don't understand all the elements that come into play as we see people creating these gigantic brands. You realize, they're doing this stuff that seems pretty crazy and silly or whatever, and just off the dome or whatever, but there are elements that have to be managed so that you can continue keeping that train on the tracks. It's remarkable to me. I mean, I have watched a little bit of it's not your channel, I don't think, but you're on a lot with the panel.
On the Kevin Lang show. Yeah,
Kevin Lang show. And I actually, a couple guys on that panel I think I played basketball with.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, and so cool. Kind of there's some overlap.
They live over here. That's funny, yeah.
Yeah, really funny stuff where,
Thanks, man.
People are in the green suits and you're trying to decide, are they really black or are they really this?
Yeah.
I like the ones you did with couples, like there was one about...
the siblings or couples one?
Yeah.
That was good, yeah.
And I think you're great in that.
Thank you, man.
So talk a little bit about how now you don't need a lane. Here's what I mean by that. I remember when Eddie Murphy released a music song back in the day, and everybody's like, is this a joke or is it for real?
Right.
Because he's not a musician. He's not even an actor. He's a fucking stand-up.
Right.
Right? So there was this propensity, there was this sort of feeling that your lane is your lane. Dude, I'm a game show host. That's all I'm going to get to do, right? The idea that you can do any lane you want is a new idea. Mm-hmm. So where I'm getting to is that here's what I see in you. You are a writer, like a legit writer. Like if you were hired by any sitcom to write and story structure any traditional sitcom or movie, you'd be equipped. Executive producer of Real Bros. That's much more than just writing the show.
Right.
Like that. And the Real Bros movie is a legit movie. Yeah. And by the way, we'll talk about the cameos and the people that are in it. It just keeps popping off. And it's like, what? Yeah. And because I know Jimmy personally and I know you personally, I kind of know where the connections happen. But what? So there's that lane, okay, that you could legitimately do. If somebody wanted to hire you to run a show, right, you'd run the show.
Right.
Actor, like scripted actor, that's a lane.
Yeah.
That only you do. Improv actor, real dude commenting on camera guy.
Yeah.
So like host, that's in the host role. All of those lanes you do, in my opinion, expertly. So talk a little bit about is there a plan?
Yeah,
in your career?
It's funny because our industry, entertainment is definitely traditionally structured in a way, like you said, to not value or reward multi-hyphenates until later on when they've honestly only once most multi-hyphenates got one lane going first. And then once that was successful, people knew him as that, they built the other one up. And
or pigeonhole the other one. You have to listen to it because I'm this dude.
Right, exactly. Right. And since I started in this business early on, since I got reps they were trying to ask, like, what do you want to do more? Which one do you love more? And I had to be honest. I was like, I love doing all of these. I love writing, acting, and directing. And because I started on YouTube, I was doing all of that the whole time. And like, that's what I knew. That's what I was good at. And I can do one. I can play on a team, and I love, being a part of a bigger piece, being a piece of a bigger whole.
They bring you in as an actor or a
love
contributor.
it. So great.
Yeah.
But even when I'm acting on something, like my writer brain is going. And there's, of course, been things that I'm in and I'm, going over the dialogue in my head, and I see, I'm like, okay, this is actually, we should do this. We should say this. But I'm never going to fuck up the flow and like say that, but I'm going to find a way to work it into the dialogue that kind of fixes this a little bit,
That was a big lesson for me early in my career.
How so?
I got my hands smacked a few times on
Yeah.
this one. So now that I'm older, my energy has, I've learned shit. I've learned shit. One of the things is why I wanted you to come here is I wanted to tell you in person how much I admire what you're doing, but I also wanted to see what I could learn from you as a teacher, because what you're doing is pretty expansive. But back in the day, I would come on shows, they'd hire me as the host for some pilot or some series or whatever. And my role is like stand there when the red light's on, say the shit they want you to say, and go home. But as they're working it out, my brain was faster than it seemed like what was in the room. So my heart's in the right place, but I'd be like, it'd be sick, because if you did this, you'd say that, and you could do this, and it'd be awesome.
Man, they do not like that.
And they're like, don't do that. As a matter of fact, even on Temptation Island, season 1, I had an executive producer who at one point said, I produce, you host.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, cool.
All right.
Then season 2 came up. We're doing a bonfire, and I'm like pulling my punches a little bit because I got an earpiece, and I'm waiting for him to say move on or not. And he comes up to me afterwards and says, dude, I really need you 100%.
Oh, now you want my sauce, huh?
Right. And is everything okay?
Yep.
And then I said, I'm hosting and you're producing.
Yeah.
He's like, I need you to do that thing. I said, what thing? He says, that thing you did last season, that thing. I said, oh, you want me to do me?
Yeah.
So I remember it so clearly. We were like outside the control room.
I've been there, dude. It's
and I
tough.
said, and I don't really like, get my chest out often. Like, that's not my thing. The middle school kids would call me beta. But that was not it. So I looked at him and I said, oh, okay. Exactly. You want my sauce? All right. So here's what's up. You can't have it two ways. All right. You can't tell me where you're going with this and move on. So here's what's up. I'm going to let it rip. You're going to have to fucking edit it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing me. You asked me to do me. So don't ask me to do me, but do you.
Yeah.
Right. And he was, at this point, was like, cool.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of what ended up being a lane that I didn't even want, but turned out to be that lane, which is what I'm trying to do here, which is just kind of, bringing the real, bringing what I
love
do.
That.
But it's so interesting is that everything about the structure of old show business is to actually put a thumb on your ability to do you.
Yeah, they want you to stay in your lane, and that's tough, especially with someone like you. And like I was gonna, me in certain examples, but you have this way more than I do. Is like when you have a certain amount of wisdom, when you've been in the game long enough, when you have your reps at something, and if you care about a project you're on, so you're on set, you're on camera, and you want this to be good, right? You feel you're part of this team, and so you do something you think is gonna make this thing better. And when someone comes down on you and says, "Hey, actually, just do this," you're like, "Dude, what the fuck? I'm trying to help us all here. I'm trying to do my thing to bring quality and value to this thing." So if someone doesn't see that, I mean, for me, it pisses me off. If I didn't have like emotional equity, I'd be like, all right, cool, whatever. But I'm like, I'm trying to make this better.
Right.
So I've had moments where I'm just like, get upset when I'm like, why are you stepping on my toe of me trying to make this better? So
stepping on our toes, really.
Yeah, ours. Yeah, I'm trying to help us win.
There's a reason you brought me in the room.
Yeah.
Right.
It's collaboration again, dude. It's us versus the problem versus me versus you. It's not me versus you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real Bros for a moment.
Yeah, run it.
I'm still in the cloud of that because I watched it last night. And what was funny was it's Roku channel.
Yep.
And I couldn't get it up on my TV.
Really?
No, I could, but my I didn't have Roku, and I had it on my computer, but it wasn't screen mirroring because I'm a fucking boomer. And I couldn't so I'm watching it on my computer while my wife is like neck deep in MSNBC. So we're on two different vibes. And she's like screaming at the TV, and I'm laughing out loud. And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "This shit is funny."
That's good.
So one of the things there's so much I love, but all the characters, like I get emotionally connected to all of them.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you play Aldi, who was Wade's roommate in college
Yep.
for a brief time, but is like the ayahuasca spiritual, like, namaste dude.
Yep.
I'm wondering if is that an extension of a truth, or is that like a caricature that you thought was necessary for the story?
Yeah, it's a caricature for sure. Like, am I a spiritual guy who delves in psychedelics? For sure. But
We've talked about it. Don't worry, you're in a safe place.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't have to hide. I've said enough of it elsewhere. But I don't take myself or that lane too seriously, where it's like my whole brand.
You're not walking into a room and saging it before you'll come in. And,
No. I only stage my house after like homies I don't really like leave.
I see.
No, I'm playing. But
it's the post sage.
yeah, it's mostly based on people that like I know, me and Jimmy know, especially out in LA. You meet these people like this who are like, this is their whole life, is just being a sage burning, Palo Santo sniffing.
Burning Man dude.
Yeah, a Burning Man guy, literally that part.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Which there's a riff on in the series that I laugh at, because my brother-in-law's there right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's 72 years old, and he's going to come back, and he won't stop talking about Burning Man and all the things. I'm like, fuck, and just take a shower and talk to me later.
Yeah, people who so I did ayahuasca once, and I didn't talk about it on purpose ever. Like if it came up, I would say I did it, but I wouldn't go into it, so I will not be dubbed an ayahuasca guy.
But you're also the fitness dude, so there's like the Burning Man joke is the same as the CrossFit joke used to be.
Exactly.
So I bet you kind of have to not talk about that too.
No, I mean, like I work out. I've never done CrossFit, but like I said, like I'm not afraid to make fun of myself in any kind of like social sphere that I enter, whether it be like I started climbing like a year and a half ago, like whether it's fitness, whatever the fuck.
But you spoof the shit out of that.
I spoof it. Like I'm gonna see the joke in anywhere I go.
You said something in an interview. I don't know if it was the Burt Kreischer one or Barstool Sports or something, but Jimmy said you're the most jacked guy I've ever seen, and you said, I kind of laughed that I'm now comically jacked.
Yeah.
And I said that's why I love this dude.
Yeah, I want to like use it. I want to use it for jokes as much as I can.
Yeah.
But
it's also a thing.
But it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real. But you get like you're in on the joke.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like most people I feel like would take themselves so seriously and like would be hurt if they made fun of themselves or somebody else did. I'm like, why, dude? This is just another weapon in my comedic arsenal now.
But that speaks to something a little bit bigger, in my opinion.
Really?
I may be projecting on you some shit that
No,
may
what do you
not
mean?
be true. You can't laugh at yourself if you're not down with yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't let the jokes happen around you specifically if you didn't already resolve, like I said, that authentic connection to yourself. So what I get from you and have gotten from you I don't even remember when I met you. It obviously was through
Years
Jimmy,
ago. Yeah.
right? But I always kind of had you in my head. I even reached out to you about some game show we were developing, thinking that you might be great for this, but that was back in the day. But there's a centeredness, there's a calmness about you that comes through. It comes through for me in even the stupid, funniest shit you do with other people's channels. But like, do you have like a process to kind of get to this peaceful, focused, high energy, but not manic existence?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. I think it's just a lot of, I invest a lot of time in like self-reflection, and I invest a lot of time in like looking at myself and trying to make myself better from like an inside perspective. I read the books, I do the breath work, I learn the lessons, I do the stuff that, that people say tends to lead you towards like an enlightened path. And that's just for me and my own centeredness, my own oneness. And I love it, but also I will make fun of it just as much.
Well, but see, now that's the thing. So people who see you
Yeah.
on all the stuff may not think that.
Right.
Right? Especially if they see you with your shirt off, because like that dude,
Right. No,
fuckboy.
Yeah.
You could go there.
Right.
Right? I was saying this to a guest I had last week. I'm like, I met you and I'm like, dude, if I looked like you, I'd wear a loincloth to the grocery store. I'm like, never fucking putting clothes on. The fact that you look, it doesn't discount the things you've accomplished, even physically, but the fact that you don't take it too seriously, like it goes back to the lanes. No one lane is defining you, which means without having talked to you, I knew there was something that you were doing as a practice, or several things you were doing as a practice that was far bigger than this stuff, that allows you to be who you are in this stuff that's not attention getting.
Yeah.
You're not trying to go, what about me? What about me? It's
Right.
like a different thing, which is the actual vibe of improv, which is
Right.
I'm about you right now.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that you don't talk about
No.
that spiritual journey, what you're reading, the oneness stuff, and all
Yeah,
that
no,
stuff.
I mean, I will if somebody wants to talk about it, but I don't make it part of my brand just because, like, I think that would take some work to do that, and like maybe one day. But
It's
for,
also
it's very
way
much
cliche.
for me. Yeah,
It's the Burning Man dude.
exactly, and that's
Right.
not me, and it really is for me. I don't need anybody else to like know about that path. You know what I mean?
I hope you're listening. I hope both of you are listening to this.
Both of you's
That's
crazy.
it.
But yeah, man.
Because that's the shit, you guys. Like what? And I don't really want to get so deep in here, but if you're going to reach potential, unlimited possibility, it starts with getting okay with the good and the bad of this. Like,
Dude, yeah.
Like, let's have this conversation, the inner conversation first.
Yeah.
Let's take that and complete that so that I can listen.
I think it makes me a better artist in the room, though. Like on the writing side, on the acting side, on the producing side, like doing the shadow work, like, you know, working on myself, going to therapy. I think all those things make me better in the room. That make me a better writing partner with Jimmy. And I know Jimmy has his own journey he's been on, which has been great. It makes us, Jimmy and I have a half an hour in the middle of our session where we just get like deep and personal. And
Which, by
sometimes,
the way,
like,
I don't think
comedy comes
anybody
out
would
of it.
expect that from Jimmy, but I've had the same experience with
Yeah,
him.
you know, it gets deep in there. But then also, well, that 60th minute, a joke comes out of the last thing we said. And now we're writing for 3 hours. You know, we wouldn't have gotten there without that vulnerable moment.
Hey, Jim Carrey,
Yeah. Chappelle gets deep.
Chappelle, all of
those
them
guys. Carl needs to get
are
deep
on a
in there.
journey.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson is in it right now.
Yeah.
You know, that was called a segue because what's sick about the whole Real Bros thing are the people who show up to support it. Which we could talk about has everything to do with the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
That when your ego and you're okay, it leaves room for other people to play with you. What I have found in you is that people want to collaborate. And that vibe is there. So we see in the series, Pete Davidson shows up as Jimmy's or
Molly's
Zonder's
brother. Yeah, brother-in-law.
soon-to-be brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And not even a big part,
No.
but he was down to play.
He's down, yeah.
Then we get to the movie, dude. And it's just, so Shaun White.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shaun White's doing this.
Yeah.
Zoe.
Zoe's in it.
Now, of course, Zoe and Jimmy are, a thing. I've met Zoe. She's great. I really love her. But she does her thing. And there's so much I
I love that.
let's see, who else? Shaun White. Oh, my favorite is in the Facebook series, they have this kid,
Yeah.
Hawk. That's why they have to get married.
Yeah.
And then like 2 minutes later, he's like 15.
Yeah.
Right? He goes away and he comes back. And now in the movie, Hawk comes, in the end of the Facebook Watch season, like season 3, he comes back to the wedding as like a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? But then you play the joke further that when he comes back in the movie, he's older than Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then he ends up, I don't want to, I'll blow it. He ends up dying of old age.
Yeah.
Like we go to his funeral.
Yeah.
And then Bryce has a beef at the funeral.
Yep.
But then there's even, that's a nuance that the beef was about him caring. Like
Yeah.
you get me there. Like you got to see it. You got to watch it. I'm telling
man.
you, I'm not the demo. It hit on every level for me.
You are the demo, clearly.
I guess I'm the demo.
You did it like this, yeah.
I got to quit age shaming myself.
Yeah, don't
again.
do that. You got a timeless soul, man. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Dude, that might be the name of my cover band, Timeless Soul.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go with that. So there were so many jokes, so many people that show up. Tony Hawk, Shaun White. By the way, goats.
Yeah.
Skateboarding
goats.
goat.
Yeah.
Snowboarding goat.
Yep.
But this speaks to like what you were talking about of your journey spiritually that no one would know about unless you're listening and paying attention, because that's like none of that's a surprise to me, because my listening of you has me hear this comes from a different place, right? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little gushy fangirly here, but it's not the content that impress me. It's the ethic, the work ethic, but there's the come from. Where are you coming from? That's what rings loud. That's what I hear loudest. And your come from is really centered and really strong, and gives room for, this is the lesson, I think, it gives room for other people to feel safe to play with you.
That's the best. That's what I want.
Right.
You know, we can. I've asked people on set, like I've invited like actors, actresses to come be in a sketch with me, and it's the scene's not working. And I remember I shot an argument scene with somebody. It wasn't really working, and I was like, okay, let's cut. And I was like, have you ever had an argument with a boyfriend that was kind of like this? And they were like, kind of like, well, yeah, of course. They were kind of like brushing it off. I was like, no, we're cutting. We're not going to do this until we talk about this. And they were like, finally opened up like, yeah, maybe once or twice. I was like, okay, cool. What'd you say when you were there? And like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, no, seriously, we're not going to roll until you tell me. What'd you say in that argument? Oh, I might have said this and that. Okay, and what'd he do? Oh, he said this and that. Oh, that's kind of funny. That's kind of a dumb thing to say in an argument. Oh, yeah, that is kind of funny. And then now we're connected to something real. And now let's roll. And now you get it.
That's an example of exactly the conversation one has, the inquiry one asks of others in therapy or in directing theater or in directing movies. That's the inquiry to get to the real instead of the pretend. Mm-hmm. And that has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, so, exactly. It's better when it does anyway.
Yeah. But it's rare, dude.
Yeah.
And I think I had a conversation with someone who will remain unnamed, who was looking at Kristen Stewart back when Twilight was going on and going, how the fuck is she a star? Look at her. She's doing nothing. I'm like, but what, you're not, and I'm not saying Kristen Stewart's a brilliant actor. I dig her, but whatever. The point was, what he couldn't get was doing something isn't acting. Doing stuff, shtick, character, what you think this is the opposite of what connects to an audience.
Right.
What connects to the audience is the conversation you had. Like, did you ever have this? What was? We're not starting until you get to that place.
Yeah.
Then the words don't matter at all.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. That stuff shows up.
You can toss my favorite improv comes from when something real comes out of somebody. Like if I wrote a whole script and you go off book, but something real is happening, I'm gonna use that take probably if it's good and funny, just because like it comes through on camera more.
Well, anybody who knows anything about comedy knows that the funniest comedy is from the darkest truth.
100%.
And now there's a skill and an art that you have, Jimmy certainly has, where you can find the funny in the darkness. Like what's the punchline?
Yeah.
But when you work backwards and go, let's get a punchline here and try to maneuver a way to get to it, that's not funny.
No.
And it smacks of just, it's pandering.
Yeah.
Right.
If you go, I posted a video of like kind of looking inside the writer's room with Jimmy and I when we were writing Real Bros. We're doing rewrites.
I saw that.
And you'll see moments where it's like, we're kind of like, well, what about this, what about that? Oh yeah. And then, oh, what about that? Then a laugh comes, but we're just kind of doing what you said, the first process of like digging into a topic. Oh yeah, what happens here? Well, what would that person actually say? Well, maybe this and that. And then here comes a real punchline as opposed to, like you said, reverse engineering it. That shit's a derivative. That shit you can smell a mile away.
Well, I run into it even in my role where I'll show up back in the day or something. Somebody had me come in and do a pilot for a game show. And this is as nerdy as it gets, but it does relate. And there's all kinds of bells and whistles. There's a bonus round and the scoring goes here. And I'm like, dude, if the game doesn't play, none of this matters.
Yep.
Now, I'm using it in that surface level, but I think that's actually a lesson in life is that you can't the old cliche is, you got to have steak, not just the sizzle. But the point is, if it doesn't come, if the root source, if the core, the energy ball isn't from something very, very real and simple, then you can dress it up all day long.
Yeah.
And it's not going to land.
You can feel it, man. I was just thinking about this shit last night, actually. I forget why. Maybe I was just scrolling through TikTok. But one of my favorite things to see in the world of internet content, mostly TikTok these days, is when a video goes like viral or somewhat viral, and it's not from someone who creates content regularly. It's not from an actor. It's just from someone who had a funny idea and they just shot something with no crew, no nothing, and put it out, and it went because people can feel the authenticity. They know you're not an actor.
Hold on. The example I'm going to give of that you may disagree with entirely, but I've been tripping on this a little bit, and it's not just the bit; it's the person.
Right.
I can't believe I'm doing this. Huck to a girl.
Well, yeah. No.
You know what?
100%.
And what's interesting to me is like, all right, so that was a one-line moment. She was a little drunk. That happens. Oh, shit. That's viral. That was a funny moment.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bet, like, if it's fantasy football, I want her on my roster. I think there's some legs there that stand, because I've seen her now in several interviews.
Yep.
And she kind of is who she is.
And I was hoping
That's
that
all
would
that
happen for
matters.
her. I hoped for her that would happen, because people can, like you just said, feel authenticity. They can feel the real, and they can feel when it's not real, you know? And it's so funny because entertainment, traditionally, the majority of it has all been not real. It's been scripted things,
That's right.
it's just for entertainment, and that's great.
That's right.
But like, we hit a point somewhere where reality TV started to come along, where people started to grow tired of that. They didn't want the scripted. They wanted it to feel real. And that's why things like Vine and TikTok and all these other, you know, things, vlogs, podcasts can take off.
Sure.
People crave authenticity.
Well, and I've had this argument on this couch with a less enlightened boomer, where I said, you got to get that the definition of fame has changed. It used to be what you did on camera, this fake thing you did on camera was why you're famous, but your life and who you are was a mystery that occasionally it'd be like, we got an exclusive look at Bob Hope's house. Right? The script flips where the only thing we care about is what you're actually dealing with.
Yeah.
And so where people my age will make fun of people who are like, oh, so now they're on the spectrum and that's why they're famous? No, dog. What they're famous for is because they are on the spectrum and they're sharing what their life is. We care.
Yeah, we like them.
Right? And
Yeah.
I think that rings true to me because I didn't come up as an actor. I came up as a TV host, which was cliche for vapid idiot, which I have done everything I can to further that cliche. But the skill set is different.
Yeah.
The skill set is, I'm not going to do an episode once a week of a scripted thing. I'm a guy you need to have coffee with every day, even if you don't like me today.
Yeah.
And that's called a relationship.
Yes.
And I think what we've done is your generation, and even younger than your generation now, craves, don't fucking bullshit me.
100%.
And nothing. I've said this because when I was on Cody Ko's thing, I did an interview with him, and then it kind of went nuts for me. And it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, so you don't see me as an old guy. You don't give a fuck about that. You see me as a guy not full of shit, or full of shit in a way that we can dig and make fun of,
That's all that
as
matters.
opposed to everyone else who looks like me, who is the car salesman,
100%.
right? And I, like I go down rabbit holes, so I'm kind of looking at the entire, like even the slang is all emotional intelligence slang.
Yeah.
It's all like
Yeah.
it's giving, I feel,
Yep.
all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of down for that ride. I'm kind of looking to that to be the evolution, the savior of
Hell yeah.
what I fucking left you.
Yeah,
My generation left you.
I'm 100%, man. And like, I think a lot of people who come from traditional entertainment, like myself included, when this shift started happening like 10 years ago or so, we got kind of territorial because we're like, why is this guy becoming famous? Why is this show becoming famous? Like, they're not doing anything. Like you said, I'm the one crafting these things, these scripted things. It takes so much time. And this guy's just showing up and smiling and doing nothing. And people like him. And you feel territorial because it's like someone's encroaching upon your territory and not doing what you've done. But I took a moment where I was like, okay, let me listen. Like, this is not going anywhere, dude.
Say that.
Like people, I kept hearing this thing back in the day. People would say like, well, I'm like, why do you like this guy? And people younger than me would go, I don't know, they're just real. And that used to piss me off at first. I was like, what does that mean they're real? Everyone's real. But then I'm like, okay, let me stop getting pissed. Like, what do they mean they're real? I'm like, okay, there's something that they feel in them that they are drawn to this lack of scriptedness, this authenticity. And if this many people like it, it's got to mean something. Like the rise of reality TV, although reality has its like, narrative shaping, like it has to mean something. Why are we craving this so much? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just come full circle because things were so scripted and so produced. It's like jazz
Ricky
and rock
and
and roll.
Lucy
It's gotta
didn't
break,
sleep
right?
in the same
Yeah.
bed. They weren't allowed to be pregnant. This was stuff that we were all down for, but in media, it was a rule that this couldn't happen.
Right.
Interracial relationships could not happen. I
Right.
mean, in my lifetime, in my career, there were episodes shot that couldn't air in certain, like I was a warm-up guy on a dating show, and they had an episode where a black guy and a Latina girl went on a date. And the local station in Washington, D.C. pulled it from the air. Can't air that.
That's crazy.
And I'm talking late 90s.
That's wild.
Right. So my thanks are to this new generation
Yeah.
of content creators to kind of dispel that, and staying like get rid of the lanes. Like I can do scripted,
Yeah.
comedy, spoof.
Yeah.
Real Bros is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, and I want to wrap this up, but I want before I wrap it up, I want to talk about what's next for you. But in the Real Bros thing, which is true in any, Christopher Guest does this beautifully, is true in anything that transcends, is I don't care how outrageous, how dick jokey or stupid the narrative is, if the characters don't have a heart that we actually care about, it doesn't go. So look, we've got these characters here. Wade doesn't burn. Do you even burn, dude?
Right.
That whole bit, I can kind of relate to that guy.
A word.
Yeah, I can relate to the guy who's like at the party and hoping you don't see my softness.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? As opposed to the guy who's like, nah, dude, I don't burn. Like,
Right.
that whole thing, I can relate to him. Bryce, that character, I know it's a spoof on top. It's like over the top, but this is a guy who, for whatever reason, he's tatted up. He can't access
Yep.
humanity.
We all
And
know
we
that
see
guy.
the struggle.
Yeah.
Right? I love that. You spoof that. You always throw down. There's always a fight. No one ever gets punched. It's just all bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the spoof. I
Yeah.
get that joke. I want to cuddle Duncan.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. I mean, I think he really is just wants to make everybody happy.
Yeah, he's a lover.
And Johnny's character, who's never in the credits and you never get him there,
Yeah.
who is actually a bro, but he's not a bro.
Yeah.
So fucking good. When he finally gets his shit together in the movie and he's like, he comes in just like with the fit. You know that he's actually the one all along who's the most real, most authentic
Right.
dude. Like he's the one who says how he feels and he cares about everyone.
Yeah.
And then in one moment, they're like, dude, you could be in. He's like, fuck everything. I want just
Yeah,
want-"
yeah.
You know, all of this stuff, it speaks to what you said. If you take a moment to get real, find what really is the thing in these characters that is something we relate to, that middle school trauma.
Yeah.
Then we spoof it out to jokes. But if
Yeah.
that part's not there,
You gotta
the
touch
jokes
it,
don't
yeah.
land.
You gotta like touch upon it. You gotta like really put the spotlight on it for a second, and then we can riff on it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, I literally went down the rabbit hole like these guys really nailed this, and none of
yeah,
it was
man.
by accident.
Thank you, dude.
All right, so before I let you go, what's next? Like, I know you're creating content. Like, I'm surprised you showed up. So thank you
No, man, I'm happy to be here.
for real. Thank you.
No, thanks for having
Big
me.
gift.
What's next is I got a lot of stuff I'm working on right now. I just dropped my first ever workout program for people to log on to and do their own thing at the gym. And so I'm shooting content for that just to like fill the archives up. So I have a few more of those, then I'll be done with that for a while.
What you posted, I think today.
Today was like a link to it. You know, if anyone wants to get started, it's just 6-week
It's
program.
ridiculous stuff, but it's not musclehead shit. It's like
No.
really
It's
calisthenic.
all like, yeah, it's all athletic and like dynamic, and there's mobility stuff in there. It's all very doable for all levels of people who have never worked out before or worked out a bunch before. So that's been awesome to do. And there's people on there now who are doing really great, and people have already seen improvements. And that's been a really rewarding thing for me to see people I don't know sign up, go through the motions, and I see improvements because you can track it. And that's fucking awesome. You know what I
That's
mean?
great.
That's cool. I have a clothing company called Shell Corp, and we're constantly just trying to make clothes people want to wear, cool stuff. So we have a few more drops this year that we're excited about, and cooking some more sketches. I'm shooting 2 or 3 sketches this week for my pages. I'm excited about. So
Christian A. Pierce, you got to follow on all the platforms. Look, I'm a fan of a lot of people, but this is the, like, I was going to use a stupid ass metaphor, but this is food you can eat every day. Like, what you're putting out is funny. There's a heart. Even when you show up in other people's stuff, I'm just a fan, dude, and really grateful that you came down to spend a little time with me and chop it up a little bit. And wish you all the success. I don't think you need my wishes. I think it's happening, but
Thank you
I
so
really
much,
don't think
man.
there's a roof on your possibility
I really appreciate that.
on every level. Like
I'm
I'd
gonna
like
test
to,
it anyway. I'm gonna
Pardon
see.
me?
I'm gonna see how high the roof goes. I'm gonna,
I just don't see it that way. I just think that some energy soar, and the lane doesn't matter, because I think the overwhelming vibe is service. Like
100%.
very little of what you're talking about is about, hey, look at me.
No, yeah.
Like it's collaboration. It's like even the stuff, the clothing line one could say is so that you feel your best. The workout stuff, I could extrapolate it even further. But
I just think people in a positive way. I want to impact as many people as I can in as big of a positive way as I possibly can in my time here, whether that be making you laugh or giving you a cool workout to do or giving you clothes that make you feel good about yourselves. I just want to do stuff that makes people feel good.
Well, I feel good. I came in saying I feel great, but now I feel better.
Hell yeah.
And dude, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And if you ever need a guy like me in any of your shit, I'm going to show up for anything you need.
Always. I need you on the court. I heard you got the fucking handles.
So that's not true, but thank you. But I will say this about that. Like, so that's not true. Like, I'm famously not a good basketball player.
I heard you were moving out there.
I'll tell you what I am. I am a little bit tougher than people think.
You talking shit?
I talk shit. I don't start shit, but I finish shit.
All right.
And I think I'm 6'6".
Perfect.
So I like to bang, but I just played Thursday, and I haven't been playing very well, and it's very emotional for me because it's definitely middle school, not getting picked guy, all of that, and being bullied or whatever. So I played Thursday, and I don't know what happened, dude. I was just out of my head, and so now I'm a shooter.
Let's fucking go.
So that's what's up.
I need that guy on my team, man. That's a hustler.
Well, I always tell that story that I was playing with at the time, Nick Cannon's dude, Dorian, who I'm friends with a little bit. But he's like 6'7", 6'6", and he had a guy he used to run with, and they had played overseas or whatever, and I was on their squad, and a ball was about to go out of bounds, and I didn't get it. And he's like, Wahlberg, you need to dive and get that. I'm like, what? He said, that's your role, dude. You're not the shooter. You're just that guy. You got to be that guy. And he also said the line that I say all the time is like, we come back afterwards, sitting on the bench, and these guys, we won like 5 games. I had nothing to do with it. I was doing sprints basically, up and down. Nobody saw me. And then we finished the run, and the guy's got ice on his knees, the guy's got ice on his back, and I look at him and go, this is years ago. I'm like, dude, I'm like so much older than you, and I've been running with you all day. I don't need ice on anything. And without a beat, he turns and says, Wahlberg, when you jump this high, your knees last forever. When this is all you got, nothing wears out. I'm like, facts.
Fair.
Yeah, fair.
I'll take that any day, though.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, on the basketball court, I may not get my points. I get all my fouls.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want me guarding you.
Get them.
Yeah.
As long as there's strategic fouls, I want the guy on my
Well,
team.
I'm not a hack anymore.
Okay.
But I'm not a bitch either.
Just take somebody else out the game. Now
That's
it's
it.
4-on-4. That's
it.
fine. Yeah.
My guy doesn't score. That's what's up.
Perfect.
My guy doesn't score.
Perfect. That's all I need.
Yeah. And I'll hit you with a good pass. All right. That would be fun. We could ball it up.
All right, let's go.
I did in Hawaii.
I heard. Yeah, Rashawn, my buddy Rashawn told me you guys were balling out
Well,
there.
you know.
Let's go.
I don't start it. I finish it.
I got to see it for
Hey,
myself.
speaking of finishing, we're done here. Thank you very much.
for having me,
Christian A. Pierce on all the platforms. If I'm gonna invest in a startup that's already a startup, this is where I put my money, right here.
Man.
That's what's up.
Shark Tank.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, man.
I turn my chair around. All right, thanks.